Maybe you've been so deep in crypto and DeFi that you missed the story happening across the street in traditional finance land with payments giant PayPal. But it really blew our minds, and we think it's worth highlighting. Earlier last month, PayPal said that users spreading misinformation would be subject to a $2,500 fine. It removed the language from its acceptable use policy after intense backlash. But the increased scrutiny drew attention to the fact that similar terms had been in place in its user agreement for years. Before we get into it, please make sure to hit that like button so this video reaches more viewers, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll keep you updated on DeFi and crypto with no-shill videos that cut through the noise. Back to the controversy. In short, if PayPal doesn't like what you're saying, it can take action that goes from issuing fines and taking money directly from your bank to shutting your PayPal account. Why does this matter? This is exactly why the world needs decentralized finance. These stories should remind everyone that DeFi isn't an empty buzzword. It's a new financial system providing essential services that anyone can access, regardless of where they are in the world, of their income, and of their political or religious beliefs. So let's backtrack a bit to review what exactly went down. At the start of last month, PayPal rolled out an update to its acceptable use policy that prohibited the sending, posting, or publication of any messages, content, or materials that present a risk to users' safety or well-being or contain misinformation. And who decides what counts as misinformation? PayPal does. The policy said that defining misinformation was at PayPal's sole discretion. Violate the policy, and PayPal can deduct $2,500 from the offending user's account. Think about that. If PayPal decides that it doesn't like your tweet or Facebook post, it can unilaterally take $2,500 from your account. Users link their banks, so it doesn't even have to ask you for permission. And that's $2,500 per infraction. Maybe you have 10 social media posts it doesn't like. That's $25,000 it can take. That's a pretty sweet deal for PayPal. Compare that to holding your assets in a non-custodial wallet that only you control. That's the freedom and security decentralized finance offers. Of course, backlash ensued after people noticed this in PayPal's terms of service. Fortunately, PayPal backtracked and removed the language with a laughable post that basically said, "Oops, never mind." But I'm paraphrasing. What it really said was, and I quote, "An accepted use policy notice recently went out in error that included incorrect information. PayPal is not fining people for misinformation, and this language was never intended to be inserted in our policy. We're sorry for the confusion this has caused." But that wasn't the end of the story. The language is so similar that last week, a new wave of outrage erupted on reports that PayPal had quietly brought back the controversial policy. What critics were actually seeing was language that had been there for years. Let's take a look at the two documents that regulate PayPal user behavior: its acceptable use policy and its user agreement. PayPal's acceptable use policy states that you may not use the PayPal service for activities that relate to transactions involving the promotion of hate, violence, racial, or other forms of intolerance that's discriminatory. And of course, that sounds reasonable. But again, it's under PayPal's discretion what it considers to be hate speech or discriminatory. PayPal's user agreement goes even further and says that users are prohibited from, quote, providing false, inaccurate, or misleading information in connection with the use of its websites, account, services, or, and this is the part where it gets even muddier, in the course of interactions with PayPal, other PayPal customers, or third parties. So if you're interacting with any of PayPal's 426 million users and PayPal deems you're providing misleading information, it can conclude you've broken its user agreement. If PayPal decides you've engaged in the restricted activities in its user agreement, it can close your account, refuse to provide you with its services in the future, hold the balance in your account, and charge fees. If it deems you've broken its acceptable use policy, it can fine you $2,500. Yep, the infamous fine is still right there. It was always there. It shouldn't be that surprising, given that we've seen time and time again how PayPal will deplatform users. PayPal recently canceled 3 accounts linked to Toby Young, a commentator who runs a nonprofit called Free Speech Union. According to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the company has routinely denied service to Palestinians and to sex workers. Larry Brandt, who had used the platform to fund Tor nodes, which are popular with dissidents around the world, had his account shut down. PayPal has also shut down accounts for Gays Against Groomers, a group that opposes the sexualization of children, as well as evolutionary biologist Colin Wright and journalist Ian Miles Chung. PayPal is far from the only platform censoring users. GoFundMe seized millions in funds raised for trucker protests in Canada earlier this year, while Google recently began suppressing search results for crisis pregnancy centers. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, MailChimp routinely down accounts that are linked to crypto. And sure, you can argue that PayPal is a private company and it has the right to provide services to whoever it likes. Fair enough. But this is exactly the point. We're witnessing the creation of a financial system that simply cannot censor people. In an environment where Web 2 and TradFi keep policing their users' beliefs, whether it's because they don't like their politics, because they're into crypto, or whatever, we're grateful there's a viable alternative out there thanks to DeFi.